I made over our living room a couple months ago, but this corner has been bothering me since. Our cats love looking out the window here, but this Olive Atelier table is gonna look so much nicer than the dog crate. So we're gonna be building this Olive Atelier inspired table from scratch, so let's get started. For the tabletop, I grabbed this piece of wood and had them cut in half for me. And for the legs, I needed 2-inch dowels, and I grabbed 2 of these dowels. Let's start by attaching the 2 pieces together to create our tabletop. Mistake number 1 was drilling the pocket screws with this Craig jig. I didn't realize that this would make it that the screws are facing outward with no way to attach it to the other piece right on top of it. So I went ahead with wood gluing the 2 pieces together. I spread wood glue all over one piece and then pressed the other piece on top of that, making sure that it was lined up pretty well. It didn't have to be perfect. And then I clamped the pieces together, keep them in place while the glue dried. I still wanted to use pocket screws, so I grabbed this other Craig jig that I have. It allows for more flexibility on where to put the pocket holes. This way I could flip the direction that I was drilling the pocket holes, and then I was able to screw the 2 pieces together. Now I'm cutting the dowels to size. I'm mitering one end with a 15-degree angle, and the other end I'm just cutting with a straight 90-degree angle cut. I decided to use these because I was trying to do pocket screws. This dowel is too thick to fit in this Craig jig. It was way too difficult to try to use with this on the dowel. I had these from a previous project that I never used. It already gives you that 15-degree angle. When you attach it to the tabletop, I'm gonna put the 90-degree cut here, just like I did here. So then the mitered side is now flat to the floor.
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the winter comes the ice, the snow, but I'm amid it all.
It's several days later now. I was getting very frustrated with this situation over the weekend, so I decided to take a break. This leg piece that I was trying to screw into, for some reason, didn't have the right threads to screw into, so it just kept turning, kept turning, kept turning. It was just like a limp noodle when I attached it, so that was not working for whatever reason. I was very frustrated, some tears were shed. I was thinking I was gonna have to scrap the whole piece and start over completely. This was after I had worked for like 2 to 3 hours just trying to figure out how to attach these. It was just very frustrating. It was not working at all. I ordered a new pack of the leg brackets, and I'm hoping I don't have to buy a new dowel. I can't unscrew this because I tried to wood glue it inside of there. And I hope that this didn't get glued down. I was so frustrated. I should never have screwed this back in. I should have unscrewed it because I used a bunch of wood glue trying to make that work. I am not gonna be able to screw this in the exact position that I wanted to before, so I'm just gonna move it over a little bit. Still gonna hold up the table, and that's the only thing that really matters. Hope this works. We're gonna have to stop. I'm gonna have to buy another one of these, which I was really hoping I didn't have to do, but we'll just move on to the next step for now. Worry about that later. Because I made a tabletop with 2 separate pieces of wood, they didn't quite line up perfectly, which is fine. We're just gonna finish this off with a little bit of wood filler, smooth out the sides, and make it seem like it's made from one thick piece of wood. Let's go get our last dowel so that we can finally be done assembling the table. Finally got what I need. I'm just gonna measure it to size.
Who told you that it was too late? When was it that you started leaning that way? 4 tires cut into the clay. It dries up and now there's just one.
Hello. I guess I need to put it closer to my mouth for it to like really pick up, maybe. But if it's like this, it's decent, right? Did I finally figure out my microphone? I filmed an entire video thinking that this microphone was working. Filmed this entire video thinking this microphone was working. Is it working now? I hope it is. Let's distress this table. I'm using my favorite method to distress any Olive Ateliers DIY, which is to use my multi-tool to basically carve the piece into what I want it to look like. Starting by cutting away all the sharp corners. When you see actual old pieces of furniture, like a really old table, there's no like sharp, defined corners anymore. They've all been smoothed out over years and years and years of use. So this is like the first step to really giving it that natural aged look. You don't want anything to be uniform. You want to take bigger chunks out in some areas, smaller chunks out in other areas. And so it doesn't look pretty yet because there's a lot more work to do, but for now we'll continue the process with the bottom edge of the table and then move on to the legs. Something I've learned and something I'm continuing to learn is that more is usually better. And I wish I would have taken more out of the legs specifically and really given them that hand-carved look. But anyway, we finish all 4 legs and then move on to the last step, which I think is the most important in making the table look aged. This is when I take my multi-tool and follow the natural wood grain and basically create cracks along the wood. This is another step that I wish I would have done even more. I could have put so many more cuts here, and I think that really would have helped. I also create a few areas where I cut even more of the wood out to create more divots and just vary it. Again, you don't want it to be uniform at all. Now that I switched over to my sanding attachment on my multi-tool, I really want to smooth out the cuts that I just made with my multi-tool. Most tables that are actually this old have been cracked and gouged. That has happened over years and years and years of use, and those gouges and cracks have been smoothed out. So this is like the most important part in making it look more authentically aged. And then to continue on with this process, I switch over to my orbital sander, and I'll be using 3 different sandpapers, starting with 80 grit to continue to smooth out the whole table and really blend together all of the gouges and the cracks, especially along the edges where all these cracks meet the smoothed out corners that I cut off. I just continue this until I've smoothed out the entire tabletop and the legs. Then it's time to wipe away all the sanding dust before we use pre-stain all over the entire table. And finish off the prep process by lightly sanding with 220 grit sandpaper. Then it's finally time to stain our table in the color Jacobean. I use 1 coat of stain all over the entire table. Stain has had plenty of time to dry, so it's now time to go in with our matte top coat. I'll be using 3 coats of polyurethane to protect the table. The table needed several days to dry before I could bring it inside. Let's total up how much it cost to make this Olive Ateliers table. I spent $28 on the dowels, I spent $20 on the wood for the tabletop, on the stain and the polyurethane, I spent $5, brackets cost me $10, so total this table cost $63 to make. Switching out the dog crate with this Olive Ateliers inspired table has instantly made this corner feel more styled. It really completes the whole room, and now the cats still have the perfect spot to look out the window. I feel like this just made the perfect impact. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Like the time Tessa Jane with the show.